me.
He'll introduce.
All right, here we are, guys. We're live right now. Everyone, we got a really special guest. Kevin had reached out to Sal and myself, and he talked about knowing Roy DeMeo and doing a few criminal deeds for him. And so we're going to be talking about Sal's relationship and Kevin's relationship with Roy DeMeo. They never crossed paths, but they were active around the same time. And just a little bit more background on Kevin. He came up as a car thief, and he went to prison at a very young age, and he was a confidential informant for many years for the NYPD, FBI, and many other law enforcement agencies. And I believe Kevin became a pretty high paid informant for the CI and the DEA. But today we're going to mainly focus on their relationships with Roy DeMeo. So Sal, do you got anything you want to add in before we pass it off to Kevin and let him talk about his relationship?
Well, after I talked with Kevin, I realized that it's great to have two different people from two different sort of worlds. My world was in Queens, and I'm sure Kevin was in Queens, but I was involved with, the Gotti guys and Jimmy Burke and Dominic Cataldo. But when he comes on and tells us exactly what, DeMeo was like from his point of view, it sort of matches what I know. And what I tried to get across to the public was life was very secretive back then. So we didn't talk to others about this. And I'm sure Kevin will give us some good insight.
Well, let's hear it, Kevin. What was when your first encounter with, Roy DeMeo, or your, the first relationship or anything that, occurred, the encounter?
Okay. So this, these stories that I have with Roy are so unbelievable. Where have you ever heard a scenario like this? You meet a complete stranger you've never heard of, you've never seen before, and within seconds, there's a fight over you. And let me tell you what happened. So in 1973, I got out of prison and I started working for my friend Joey Bricchini, who was a made man in the Lucchese crime family, who would later go on to be savagely murdered by Roy DeMeo and his crew in May of 1976. So I'll tell you how. So now let me set the stage a little bit. I knew Joey Bricchini since 1969, 1968, when I was just a little kid going to his candy store where all the bookies were and all the loan sharks were on 28th Avenue between 44th Street and 43rd Street in Astoria, Queens, right? So it was atypical. So anyway, I knew Joey then. I went to prison for 4 years, and all the guys that I knew from the candy store as a little kid, all were mobsters. Who knew? I mean, even if you weren't a mobster, every Italian, especially young guy, they would all like give the persona of, oh, I'm connected, I'm this, that. Well, who knew? Who knew? I didn't know that Joey was in the mafia. I was his kid. Every mafia guy has got a kid, literally a kid that does the errands. I used to clean the toilet. I mean, I was just a kid. So anyway, I go to prison. All these guys are shitting Brits, thinking I'm gonna snitch. They came to when I was on Rikers Island. They came to the adolescent remand shelter, and they came and they visited me, put money on my books, make sure I was taken care of, and said, hey. And then sure enough, the cops did come and try to get what's known as a consul visit. When you get a consul visit in prison, you know what that's. It's either A, your lawyer, and if it ain't your lawyer, it's the popo. They're there with badges and they want to sit down and make a deal. And I didn't. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself. So anyway, that's how I knew Joey. I get out of prison in 1974, and I didn't tell on anybody because I didn't know I didn't have anything to tell anyway. But when the cops came to these council visits, they were dropping Joey's name, Jimmy Nace's name, all these names, and I would tell my friend Jimmy Nace, and Joey never came to the prison to Rikers Island. Only Jimmy Nace did, and so I go to jail. I come out. I have just like in Goodfellas. It was exactly like in Goodfellas. When the kid comes out, they were like, I didn't think it was a big deal, but they had a little party for me, and the next thing I know, I don't have a job, and I'm working for Joey Bricchini in his Make Believe Body Shop in South Jamaica, Queens. So I'm in there, and now this is what I surmise. Every guy, I look back now that I know who Joey Bikini was. I look back now. Every Joey Bikini was a loved guy. He was a great guy. He did the right thing. He always, he was just like a father image to me. And I did have the pleasure to recently speak to his daughter Jackie. But so I start working for him in a make believe body shop. At this time, it's 1973. He's got this make believe body shop that's really was a loading dock warehouse, and it was on near Liberty Avenue in South Jamaica, which is only a stone's throw away from JFK. That's why, Sal, when I heard you say we were doing a lot of hijackings, and I looked at your picture when you were younger. Don't forget, at this time I'm 20 years old, and Sal's 29 years old. So I'm going, wow, he must have been one of those guys that would come. So anyway, every one of these mafia looking older guys that would come into the shop, because Joey did business there. At the time, that area was mostly industrial with all kinds of factories. There was no police that would even go in that area because it was really bad. It had a couple of old houses. It was a primarily African-American neighborhood. It was just a shithole. You couldn't get food there. It was just a shithole. But that's what Joey liked. He liked, and he would do all his business on his business phone, doing all kinds of stuff. At that time, he had a pawn shop on 42nd Street, where he was the first guy to sell gay porn. He was the first one. And that's what, the mafia didn't like it, but it started bringing in a lot of money. So anyway, this is how I met Roy DeMeo. I'm sitting on a couch in Joey Bikini's office in South Jamaica, Queens, where they had the 3 loading docks where we would unload hijacked trucks and, get them from JFK, either coming or going. They would get them coming or going. And then we would unload them and load all the merchandise into the loading dock and then into the back. It was a huge place. And we actually found it. It's now the street that it was on has been changed to Tuskegee.
Something weird.
No, it's named after African Americans who were fighter pilots in World War II. Tuskegee Airmen, I think it's like that. Tuskegee Airmen Drive. That's where it is in South Jamaica. So this guy, everybody that met Joey always met him, kissed him, the Italian mafia type of thing. They respect him because he was a big boss. Joey was a freaking captain. He was a big guy. Except Roy. He didn't like Roy. And I would always wonder, why is he dealing with somebody he don't like? So the first seconds I meet Roy DeMeo, this is what happened. I'm sitting on a couch, back to the wall. It was a square. It was like a shoebox office. Joey's behind the desk. Joey at this time is 42 years old. This is 1973. And Joey was big. I mean, he wasn't like big at all, but he was no neck. He had shoulders like a football linebacker, right? But when you're 20 years old and you look at somebody who's 42, that's an old man. You look at them like they can't fight. It's an old man. It's like it's your dad. He comes in the shop, opens the door, closes the door like he owns the place. I mean, this time I'm already working there a couple of months. I'm just sitting on the couch. I'm sitting on the couch, and he comes walking in. He goes, "Hey, what's that?" He goes, "What's that?" Pointing at me like, "What's that?" And Joey goes, "That's my kid." He goes, "Hey, take a walk." Oh shit! When he said that, Joey, I'm sitting there. Joey's to my left, Roy's to my right. Joey's got a desk in between him and Roy. The next thing you know, that wasn't the case. He was in the fucking air. He went and he fucking attacked him. He fucking attacked him. He slapped him. Boom. Now Roy's trying to get out the door. His Cadillac's parked right out front. He slaps him. Roy runs. He runs. Joey goes to kick him in his ass, and he's got those Italian dress shoes that are so smooth. And I had just washed the floor. And he goes to kick him with his right foot. to kick him as Roy struggles to open the door. And he goes to kick him in his ass, and he falls on his back. Boom. Roy gets in the car and takes off. Now, this is a big problem for Roy. This is a big problem for Roy. And Sal, I'm sure you're going to agree with me. I witnessed all it. It's just like if you're a witness to a mob crime, they don't know you, you got a big problem. So now I just witnessed Roy DeMeo get punked out by Joey Bricchini. And a year and a half later, Joey did the same thing to him. Joey gave him a black eye, and Roy went with Broglio and a couple of other guys.
Let's back up 1 minute.
Yeah.
What did Joey tell you after he chased him? Because that's like a mafia chase. What did he tell you? What did he say to you?
What did he say to me? Get the fuck out. I went to help him up off the ground. Joey was on the fucking floor. Joey, he slipped because I had just washed the floor. He fucking slipped and he went down. And I was just like, this shit happened like in seconds. I don't know if anybody's ever been in a fight where the both of the guys go off at the same time. It was a nuclear explosion. And I was just so shocked that two old guys were getting into a fight. I was just like shocked. So I go to pick up Joey, and he throws his hands off me. Get off, that motherfucker. And he opens up the door and Roy took off. So, if that would have happened, and Sal, you agree, in a prison, you would be somebody's bitch. Right. You cannot. I didn't realize at the time that, and this is what everyone says about Roy DeMeo, that of course he knew that Joey Bricchini was a made man, and putting a hand on a made man is death. They would have killed him. Joey, I guess, knew that. Joey was looking to fight. I mean, if that won't start a fight, I don't know what will. Even at 20 out of prison, if Joey would have slapped me, Joey used to slap me all around. He used to slap me when I did stupid things, when I did burnouts in front of the shop, when you drawing attention to yourself, and he would smack me. But that's different. He attacked this man. They were both about the same size, weight, and everything. And Roy ran. So now, what turns out to what happened from that point on, I started doing crimes with Roy, stealing cars. So Roy did not like the fact that Kevin Maher was walking around with that story.
What did Joey tell you to do with that story?
What do you mean? What did he tell me to do? He said, get out of here. And he told me to clean the toilet or whatever the fuck. He was just so fucking pissed. He told me to get out of the office. Because my job was washing cars, taking care of the shop, doing, go for shit.
Well, did he let you go with DeMeo?
What do you mean go with DeMeo?
You said you got involved with DeMeo after that.
So I've done about 15 or 20 videos about just that on my channel, the FBI informant Kevin Maher. So now Roy hates me because I was the catalyst of that. He probably blamed. I didn't say a fucking word, Sal. I'm sitting on the guy, didn't say a fucking word, and all that shit happened as fast as I told this story. So now I wind up working with him. There are just too many stories to get into. How I wound up working with him, how I wound up unloading hijacked trucks that he was involved with, going into South Jamaica. So, and then I also did another story. I'll tell you. Do you have any questions about that story so far?
Yeah. What action did Joey tell you to do with it? Did he tell you not to mention the story?
No. So over time, and a couple of days, he winds up coming back in the room, and he gives me a dirty fucking look, and he's giving me a dirty look, and Joey says, get out. Don't go in the shop. Get away. So after that little meeting, the first encounter after he slapped him and kicked him, after that encounter, he says, listen, just stay away from him. Don't make no eye contact with that guy. And he told Roy the same thing, because then Roy was talking shit about me. He wanted to know all about who I am, and that's how it happened. Then I wound up working with the guy. And on two occasions, I think he tried to kill me. One occasion for sure it was by South Street Seaport, underneath the FDR, the overpass, right by the river. he and Chris tried to lure me into his fucking Cadillac that was facing the street with the back to the river with the trunk open. That's another fucking story. But Roy DeMeo didn't. Now, don't forget. I don't know who Joey is at this time. I don't know who this jerk off is. I know he's a jerk off. I just by meeting him in the first 5 seconds, who talks to somebody like that? Who disrespects another, which turned out to be a made man's guy right in front of him, telling me to take a walk? You don't do that. You can't do that. Are you kidding me? And I didn't even know who these guys were. Roy DeMeo at the time had 1 homicide under his belt. He shot and killed a guy in a restaurant parking lot in Queens that was in the pornographic business because he thought he was ready to snitch. So he shot him like at 12 o'clock in the afternoon, point blank range, two in the back of the head, and just walked away and got away with that, you know? So, but and this is after. So that was in July of 73. Now we're talking about maybe November of 73 as well. So he was a murderer at this point. And he was coming up. He was an up-and-coming guy. That's why I'm so interested in hearing your stories with Roy as they developed in 1977, correct?
Right.
So this is 1973, the end of 73, all through most of 74, how I worked with that and how I saw him develop this. He was, I don't know what, I want to really hear what you. Roy DeMeo was a very charismatic and smart guy. You could tell he was well spoken. He was all that, and he was personable. But every time we would work and we would be joking around or anything, something would snap in his mind, and he would remember that I caused that fight and that I saw what he did after Joey slapped him and kicked his ass out into the street. He did not like me. And I, even as a 20-year-old kid, I knew that. But you cannot unsee something that you've seen. I can't erase it from delete it like your computer. You put a couple of buttons and it's gone. It's gone. You can't do that in real life.
Did he ever tell you not to mention the story, DeMeo?
No, that was like, so let me, all right, let me tell you a funny story. Let me tell you a funny story. So this is maybe 7-8 months after that. I wind up having to work with him and his sidekick, Chris Rosenboom, or whatever his name is.
Rosenberg, yeah.
So I'm working with the kid. We're taking stolen cars from garages in Midtown Manhattan, where I have a hook. I have a manager that worked all the garages in Midtown Manhattan, and we would just go in there and pay the guy $100 and taking 2 cars out. Boom, with keys, everything, brand new cars, hide from luxury apartment buildings to everything. So I had that hook, and we would take them to Elizabeth, New Jersey. So one day, this was so funny, and I did a video on this too. So one day, we're in the car, and Roy's driving, Chris is in the front passenger seat. It was a 2-door car, Cadillac, and I'm sitting directly behind Chris. And I can see Roy's, this is what I can see. This is what I see in the rearview mirror. His eyes.
Yeah.
And I think the fucker, he adjusted that fucking thing, the whole, he adjusted. So I'm saying if he's seeing me, he ain't seeing out the back window. He's fucking just seeing, he's got that thing and he's looking at me. And then all of a sudden, Chris starts talking about one of their mutual friends that were in a strip club, and he got tough with some kid, right? Young guy. And they get into a fight. The kid beats the shit out of this guy, who I'm assuming was a mate guy. And Chris is telling that story that the tough guy, mafia guy, got his ass kicked and did absolutely nothing. He didn't fight back. So now, if you thought the rearview mirror was out of adjustment when we started out on this little trick, now it's like, whoom, like fucking So Roy didn't know what to say and is trying to make Chris change the story. We don't want to hear that story because I got a story similar that has to do with the fucking guy that's driving his car right now. So he looked at me as the biggest threat to his persona.
Right.
I mean, Sal, you know, see, when you were in the mob, Sal, you were in the mob. I wasn't really in the mob. I didn't know. I didn't know. And I was pretty shocked and the other thing I didn't know about this guy, Roy DeMeo, I never knew what he turned into, because after I went to prison on my parole violation in November of '74, and I became an informant, I knew I could never see Joey again, because I knew how he felt about informants. I knew, and I didn't want to get him in trouble. I never once ever mentioned his name to any of the law enforcement people I worked with. And when I first spoke to his daughter a year ago, she was like, kind of, informants, and she was like, I said, well, I'll tell you what, Jackie, there's one thing you and I both know about me, and that is I never informed on your father. Now, did I, Jackie? And then that's when she went, oh, I fucking didn't. And there was no bigger fish than a Joey Bricchini back in 1974. You know what I mean? I didn't do it. But
when you came out after 74, what year did you come out?
75.
So did you go back to DeMeo?
No, when I came out, during my parole violation, I flipped and I started working, but I didn't. You got to read my book. I have a book too. It's called Cop Without a Badge, right here, New York Times bestseller. And if you're not happy with that book cover, I got that one too. You know, so there's been 2 books written about me. So when I got out, I cut all ties with Joey. I knew then that, okay, he's bigger than, but as far as Roy goes, Roy dropped off the friggin' planet as far as I was concerned. My only connection to Roy DeMeo was through Joey Bricchini and us doing tag jobs, insurance fraud, and all that other shit back in, and he would come and go. And don't forget, Roy DeMeo wasn't there all the time. Roy DeMeo just came when they had businesses to do or schemes, or he got another truck or things like that. So it wasn't like Roy DeMeo worked at the shop and he and I interacted. So there was so many incidences with him giving me dirty looks. I mean, and the other thing, you know what else he did? Did you ever talk shit about somebody? I know we all have. You ever talk shit about somebody? This fucker would talk shit about me in front of me. Like I wasn't even there. Like he'd be talking to somebody else, like in a trailer. We were unloading the trailer. And I go, hey, yo, you know what, Roy? I'm right here. I can hear every word you're saying. Why you keep fucking with what? And I don't know how many times there was almost a fist fight between me and you. And to be perfectly honest with everybody here, not trying to blow my own horn, I'm Irish. I was brought up in the South Bronx. I know how to fight. And at that time, I was 160 pounds, fresh out of freaking prison, and I love to fight. And I believe in my heart, I would have beat his ass in that truck, one-on-one, kicked his fucking ass. I was not afraid of him. And that was a stupid thing because look who he was. I didn't know who he was.
Yeah, no way. I mean,
Well, he became, you got to, think back. You're talking 74. So you didn't see him anymore after 74.
No, that's why I'm interested in listening to somebody like you.
Right,
You got me on the show wanting me to tell you my stories, but I'm very interested in Sal. I want to know how.
Let's hear it, Sal.
I want to hear
So
Sal.
you were actually
Sal. Come on,
Kevin.
Now
You were actually an early piece of the DeMeo puzzle. Okay, because when you met him, he really wasn't killing too many people.
No,
he
whacked that guy and roasted
him. So I meet him through a sicko. Okay, first of all, I'm doing a lot of business with John Caniglia. Okay, but that's not who I met him through.
Ooh.
John Caniglia had a brother named Charles Caniglia. Okay, and Charlie was a whack job. Charlie was weird in a lot of ways. Now we're in 77, and I'm selling John Caniglia packages, car parts. I'm dismantling them. I got 4 buildings in Queens, I got three of them on Liberty Avenue, and then I got another set of buildings.
Could one of these buildings, because Queens is big, but it ain't that big. So you just said Liberty Avenue. What did I say? The building was in Liberty Avenue.
Right. But I'm on Liberty Avenue and 88th Street.
I don't
and
know.
You're right down South.
I was on 150.
Yeah.
Second place.
Yeah, that's South Ozone Park. It's a world away from where I was. Okay. So, and then I got two buildings. I bought two buildings and two houses in Brooklyn, which was only a couple of blocks away from Fountain Auto Parts. Now, Fountain Auto Parts was John Caniglia and Charles Caniglia. And if people read about it, they find out later how, how vicious and how treacherous that place was. But I go to the diner one day. There's a couple of diners where Charles Caniglia hangs out. And I go, I got more packages than John's taking. I got more cars in storage than John Caniglia was taking, because John would take maybe 3, 4, 5 packages a week. But I got two big trucks that I could load up a lot of car packages. Dismantled cars. I had two chop shops. I got 10 guys working for me because I didn't stay with 3 guys and 1 car. Anyway, Charles introduces me to DeMeo one day.
Where was this? Where?
This was at the Lindenwood Diner.
I know it. I know that diner.
Yeah. So,
oh shit.
He says, Sal, this guy will take all the packages you got. So I invite him to my Corvette shop. I got a legitimate Corvette shop. And then 2 blocks away, I got another building where we're chopping cars. And he comes, and I'm on 88th Street and Liberty Avenue. I go, hey, what are you paying for a package, and how many can you take? He says, I'll take all you got. Now, I didn't know what his relationship with John Caniglia was. So he tells me, look, can you do 4 or 5 packages a week? I could do 2 truckloads. I can give you 8 packages a week. So, all right, let's get started. And it's simple. I'll give you $500 a package. Now, I don't know what he's doing with these cars, with these parts, because all I'm doing is getting one of my guys to load up the truck and take it over to the Linwood Diner a block away, leave a set of keys under the seat, and then I'm going to get paid a few days later. And that was my relationship with Roy. Knew nothing about the Gemini. I mean, I knew a little bit about the Gemini Lounge, but I never went there.
At that time, wait a minute. When I knew him, there was no Gemini. It was the old bar.
Right, exactly.
What year did the Gemini, did he take over the Gemini?
Oh, right around probably 78 or something, because I didn't even go there. I didn't meet him at the Gemini. He would come to my shop and bring me the money, and that was it. Yeah, so I dropped off the truck.
He did pay. That guy did pay.
He paid. And that was my relationship with him. And I did that for 77, 78.
So you never went out with him? No. Did you ever do any thieving with him?
I did nothing with the guy but sell him auto parts. That was all I wanted to do. And I tried to explain this on this podcast, that was the guy I did business with. Now, Joe Messina had a guy named Goldie who was a good car thief, and I gave Goldie business. I had Frankie Burke, Jimmy Burke's son, steal cars from me.
Yeah.
I had a lot of guys steal cars from me. Peter Zaccaro and his friend Andrew, wacko guys.
The car business was big back then. And I was very much into Corvettes too. I was a Corvette guy too back then.
Well, see, Sal did know him for a while, though. I mean, he just didn't really do he didn't go out with him. He didn't do none of that. It's just a matter
Now, my guy Cataldo knew about him. And he goes, watch out for that guy. By 78, 79, there was already a wire on DeMeo. This is a treacherous, vicious guy. Okay, I said, I'm just selling him cars. Because I was dealing drugs with Cataldo, and I couldn't share my criminality with other people. My drugs was only Cataldo and I. And I gave some drugs to Peter Zaccaro, and I had a few, drug dealers out in Far Rockaway. I didn't need many drug dealers because they were moving good stuff, and I made a lot of money with them. But my relationship with DeMeo was very short-lived, a couple of years. And of course,
you realize that you and I are like the only ones left that interacted with this guy. You
Well,
know?
there's Joey Testa and the other guy.
He's getting out. He's getting out in
Yeah.
June.
Yeah, they
So
got a lot to say.
you want to talk about this guy Testa? So now, last week, the FBI and the NYPD is going up to Orange County, New York, to 2 farms.
Right.
And they're doing a lot of digging, looking for bodies from the 80s. Okay.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, Testa, this is how it works. Now, Testa's in a federal prison. You were in a federal prison. I was in a state prison. This is how parole works in the state prison back then. You go before your parole board. If you have a certified place to live in a job and you're granted parole, you get what's called a date. That date, you're walking out that door that day. If you don't have one of those 2 things, you get what's called an open date. They go, okay, you got parole. Now all you got to do is go to this parole officer. They assign you a parole officer wherever you are and prove to him that you have someplace to live and you got a job. This guy gets a date 7 months, 8 months in the future. That's odd. I don't know how does that work in federal? When you go to your parole board, you go back to your cell. The next day they give you the slip, whether you got it, you didn't, or you got a closed date or open date.
Okay. See, back in the 70s.
You're talking about Testa, right? Or Center, right? Not
Center.
That's right, because he's the one. Anthony Center's getting out, not Joe Testa.
No, wait a minute. Who's getting out? Testa?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's Anthony.
Those 2 guys, and I didn't see them. I met them because I remember asking Joey, are they twins? And he goes, no, but damn, they
twins. Yeah.
Same haircut, tall. They were fucking. So who's getting out? Testa's getting out, right?
They're your age.
Anthony.
They're my age. They're closer to my age.
They're 10 years younger than me. And I didn't know those guys. But, in the federal system now, we're talking about before I can tell you this. When we got sentenced in the 70s, they had what they call a B number. Like John Caniglia was in Lewisburg when I got there. I was there 3 months and he got out. In those days, you did 1/3 of your time. You didn't go before the parole board. If you got 5 years.
In New York, you do 1/3 of your bid and you sign yourself out. It's called a conditional release.
Right. Yeah. So we didn't have parole hearings when I was in prison. It all changed now. I'm sure it's all changed. You don't get to do 20 months and 5 years now. Now you got to do like half.
Yeah,
right?
way
half
more.
the time.
Yeah.
I think.
Kevin, I was going to ask as well, with this, whole thing coming up with you finding the steering wheel and that bone, I wanted to go into that as well as so you went back to the site where you had dumped a car and there was a body in it, and now you're coming out talking with it. Before you didn't want to talk about it, but now, what is the reason why, and what is, what happened? What went down?
Let me tell you something. I met a lot of murderers. I met hundreds of murderers. So has Sal. Once you go through, I was in Greenhaven, Sing Sing, Aksaki, Elmira, Greenhaven. I've been in a lot of bad prisons, okay? I met a lot of bad people. And the one thing that every single murderer that I ever met had in common, you know what that is? They are without conscience. They can talk about killing somebody, and they could kill somebody and eat a freaking bologna sandwich. I remember one time I heard a story about Roy DeMeo chopping people up at the Germany, and they ordered pizza. They would all get in their underwear because they didn't want to bloody up their clothes, and they would be eating a slice while a dismembered body was. So unlike those people, I have a conscience. I am in the last chapter of my life. I'll be 70 in April, and that always haunted me about who I smelled. Now, you have eyewitnesses, which means somebody witnessed with their eyes a crime. You have ear witnesses, which means the person didn't see the crime, but they heard it. But this is the first time I've ever heard of a nose witness. And I don't know, Sal, did you ever smell a decomposing body? You know what that smells like?
Yeah, it doesn't smell good.
But it is a unique, pungent. I actually, when I rolled up the window driving this car, this 72 Lincoln Town car, It was cold. I rolled up the window. I was on the Van Wyck going to Long Island City. And I went, what the fuck is that taste? From the car, from the dashboard. And then I smelt it. And then I turned around and the smoke was coming from the back seat of the trunk. I never forgot that. And my mother lived in the Bronx and my father lived in Astoria, Queens. I used to drive over that bridge for the last 50 years. If you got on the lower level of the 59th Street Bridge from Queens and got on the outer lane, there's an outer lane, you can drive over that. And once you go from shore to water, I knew where the car was because I left the headlights on. I knew exactly where I parked that car. That car was the same spot it was 50 years prior. 17 feet of water, 35 feet north of the 59th Street Bridge, and 80 feet from shore. It was there. You know, it would always bother me. Who is it? Who is it? Now that I'm getting older and I'm a lot closer to meeting the face of God, it bugged me. Now, let's talk about the legality of this. This is kind of unique because I never saw a body. I didn't know what I was doing. As I was driving the car, another guy from Joey's Minsky, this guy was following me to give me the ride back after I dumped the car. And he was behind me. And I go, okay, there's a dead body in this car. And I'm halfway to Long Island City. It's like 10, 15 miles. And I was like scared. So let's talk about what happened. I'll go right into the story. So I get to my spot, which is about 300 feet from the south side of the 59th Street Bridge on the Queens side on street Vernon Boulevard. On just the last street, and then you got the river, then you got Roosevelt Island, then you got 59th Street, Midtown Manhattan. So picture, have you ever been to New York?
Yeah, I've been there for like
Okay,
one time. That was
okay,
about it.
Can you imagine the New York City skyline with houses? You got the UN, you got Midtown Manhattan, thousands and thousands of windows are there. Thousands. This is not like a rural area where you would take a dead body and dump it. This is like right in front of New York City at the time, 8 million people. Like I did it right in front of them. So anyway, I get to the spot, which is it was deserted. It was a factory building that's now a landmark in New York City. They redid it all. I go through the gate. It's dark. It's spooky as all hell. Now I smell this. So what I usually did to throw cars in there is you crack all the doors, you put all the windows down, and of course, you turn out the lights. You turn out the lights, Kevin. I didn't turn out the lights. I get to the edge, put the car in gear, and now I'm pushing the car to get it enough traction so that it doesn't hang up on the edge. That car's got to be going at a good clip. So it just goes in, boom, and it falls straight down. And there's no rocks. It's like a diving board. It's like we found out later that area there is 20 to 35 feet deep. So when a car goes in, it goes a little bit, and then the water gets in, weighs the car down, it goes down. So not this time. I was driving the heaviest passenger car in the world at that time. That car weighed 6,000 pounds, that car. 72 Lincoln Town Car. So as I'm pushing it, and I'm pushing it, and I'm pushing it, it goes to the place where I need it to be, and I let go, and the car passes me, and the lights are on, and the high beams are on. Hits the water. Oh, thank God. The front of it end goes down. It's got a 900-pound engine, 460 cubic inch big block motor. It's a big friggin' boat, this car. Goes down from the rear window up. It's sticking up with the taillights on. And it wouldn't sink. It wouldn't sink. So I'm astonished. Now I'm looking at all these potential witnesses. Anybody that looked out their window in that 1 minute time would have saw what the hell is that going down the river? Because the river, the tide is very strong over there. So anyway, it goes to the south side of the 59th Street Bridge. Then it goes and goes, and then it goes to under the 59th Street Bridge. I'm going fall. I usually when you throw a car in, you see it's going. You run back to the other car and you get the hell out of here. But this time I had to see. It wouldn't sink. I'm going. I'm going to get caught.
Who was with you?
Minsky. There was a guy that Joey Bikini had. His name was Minsky.
Is he alive? Is he alive?
Oh, I don't know. He was probably your age, about 10 years older than me. He was a big Hungarian that had a little spot in the shop where he was an iron worker. He used to, like artsy. He was building Joey Bikini for, at that time, his brand new house, a big black chandelier. He also would put, if you ever saw houses, especially in New York, they have these wrought iron gates on their windows, but they try to make them decorative. That's who that guy was. And I used to go thieving with him. You know what we used to do? We used to rent hotel rooms all over the tri-state area and steal the XL100 RCA TVs out of there. And that's how I got to go to Joey Bikini's house. I put a brand new RCA XL100 TV in his friggin' house. We had, back then, having a color TV was a big deal. I mean,
I'm sure.
If you could say you had a color TV in every room, that's a big thing, right, Sal? Right?
What did he say to you when you watched the car float?
Oh, he didn't say anything. He didn't see it. He was on the street of here. So you got Vernon Boulevard. You got this abandoned factory here to the right. One of the chain link gates, which still is there to this day, was down. It was broken. So I would go in there through the thick scrubs. It was like what do I say?
Structure.
No, shrubs.
Yeah.
Shrubs. So it was like a wall. If you didn't know there was a pathway there, you would think it's all shrubs. So you would go through the shrubs, and then the shrubs would close like a curtain. And when I took Roy DeMeo there, he was like, "Holy shit, this is like it was like made for this." So he was parked. I didn't get out of the car. He just parked right at the driveway. When I went through, I threw it in, and then I went back in the car.
So you took DeMeo there previous to dropping the car?
No.
You took him. When did you take DeMeo there?
Here, give me that one. Now, I did not tell Joey Bikini where my favorite spot is. Because if you know anything about New York City, it's very difficult to find a place that you could throw a car in from shore to water where it's deep enough and dive. So I don't know if you can see this. This is when I showed Roy DeMeo in this video right here. Can you see it, guys?
Yeah.
Another body.
Listen to what happened. So now I do that. And of course, I keep my mouth shut. That's why Joey loved me, because I was at that time so car crazy about hot rods, and all I wanted to do was race my car down Connecticut or Laurel Hill Boulevard. I really wasn't into anything else, you know? And so I get back in the car. So after I see the thing finally sink, the headlights are still on. Let me finish this story, then I'll go to Roy and what happened. That's another unbelievable story. So now I go back to South Jamaica. I get in my car and I'm going home. And at that time, I lived on Aqueduct Avenue in the Bronx, 2609 Aqueduct Avenue, 5-story apartment building right by Kingsbridge Road. So that's where I lived. So I'm going back, and I said, you know what? I'm going to take the 15. I got to see that car, if the headlights still went off, because it went down. The headlights were facing north, the taillights were facing south, and it was right there. I mean, you could squint to this thing. I mean, and it always haunted me. When you watch my videos, you'll see how it always haunted me, how I got away with it. So I go back like an hour later, and the friggin' to the left is all glowing red from the friggin' taillights, and the headlights are on facing that way. You could still see it. You could still see the headlights on. So I leave. Go back the next morning, 2 days later. Now, I'm a car guy, and I was a car thief. And I stole many, many rent-a-cars from Econo Rent-A-Car in Astoria. So I know all about rent-a-cars. So I come back. I come into work like 2 days later. I drive down the road. There's Joey, because Joey used to always smoke, right? So there's Joey on the sidewalk with Roy. So I pull into the lot. I get out, and I see a black 1972 Ford LTD. Now, let me tell you guys, and Sal, you're old enough to know about this. The two cars that the mafia guys like to ride, it was Lincoln Town Cars and these other Ford, like Mercuries and Fords, because you could literally put 4 bodies in that trunk. If you take that spare tire off the shelf, you could stick a dead body there and 3 more easy. They had very deep trunks. Okay, so I see the car across the street. I park my car. Now we're in the middle of the street. Roy's in the middle of the street. Joey's in the middle of the street. And then they go, okay, so let me back up. So the Lincoln that I took was the story was it was a give up. And that means somebody's giving their car up because they're going to report it stolen and collect insurance company money. They don't want the car to be found in the 30-day window that they need to get their check, right? So they told me that. So I knew that story was bullshit, because as soon as I got into that Lincoln, the switch was pulled, the screwdriver was in the steering column. So I know that the give-ups come with keys. They don't come with their, so I knew that story was bullshit. So now they go to me. Now, from 40 feet away, the story that they're about to tell me, I already knew was bullshit. From just looking at that car from 40 feet away, it was parked on the other side of the street right in front of the shop. So they tell me, okay, Kevin, there's another give up. I want you to do the same thing you did with the other Lincoln. Now let me repeat that. I want you to do the same thing with that car that you did with the Lincoln. Now, I didn't say anything to Joey in these 2 days that followed me throwing the Lincoln in. Excuse me. About what I smelled. I didn't say anything. So now they go, that's a give up too. So from 40 feet away, I knew that was a lie. And you want me to tell you how I knew it was a lie? In the state of New York, every registered rent-a-car in the license plate where the letter goes has a Z in it. So from 40 feet away, that's a rent-a-car. No rent-a-car companies doing insurance frauds to get rid of their cars. It was a brand new 1-year-old car. So I knew that was a bullshit story. And I'm thinking, there's another one of them in there. I'm not doing it. So this is what I'm thinking. So Joey's doing all the talking. Roy's just standing like this, because in between that time, we had a fight. Joey was like, yeah, the kid is legit. He got rid of that car just the way he said he would. I was legit. You know what? I pride myself in my life of 69 years old of always telling the truth. I tell the truth. I was always a truthful guy. No matter what, I was a truthful guy. I only lied when I had to lie. So, and that's one thing that Joey, I guess, admired about me. So, So Joey's doing all the talking. Roy is just standing there, not looking at me, to my right. And he says, now, they paid me $500 to get rid of that Lincoln, which was twice the going rate. Now, $500 was a lot of money in 1974. How much was it, you say? It was over $4,000 of 2023 money today. $500 equals 4,000 of
That's
today.
correct. Yeah, that's right.
It. So when you go from 250 to 500, that's a big jump. That's double. That's fucking a lot of money. That's like getting $2,000, $4,000. So Joey's doing all the. We got another give up. Now, as soon as he says it's another give up, I look at the Z. I know that's bullshit. I know it's bullshit. See, everybody out there, what happens when you lie? Sometimes you'll get caught. But did I say a fucking pound? I didn't say a pound. This is what I did. So he says, oh, that was fast. You did it 1, 2, 3, Mitski. So now he's got this guy Mitski that confirms everything that I said when I threw the thing in the river, where the place was and everything. Actually, I didn't. I had him parked on the other side of the 59th Street Bridge. So he wasn't like right at the driveway. He was on the other side of the 59th Street Bridge on Vernon Boulevard, because I didn't want him to know exactly where the spot was. So they go, wow, that went really good. Here's another one. I said, you know what, Joey? He goes, here's another one. And he tells Roy, give him the money. So Joey's on my left, Roy's on my right. Roy gives me the 500. Now I got the 500. Now I'm looking at this car, and I know damn well there's a fucking another dead body in that. Well, what the fuck are they giving me $500 to throw a car away, and it smells like a fucking dead body? Well, and just because I'm 20 years old, I wasn't born yesterday. I was raised in the South Bronx in New York City. I've already been in prison for 3 years. I know what time of day it is. I'm not fucking stupid, So I go, you know what, Joey? You know what? I think I'll pass. Thanks anyway. And I hand the money back to Roy. So Joey was like this. He was like fuming. He says, what do you mean? I said, that's okay. I'd rather just pass. So Joey goes to me, so you're telling me no? And I didn't say anything. He says, Roy, give him the money back. So now I got the 500 back. So I said, so you're making me do this? You're making me do this? And he goes, no. What I want you to do is take him to your favorite spot, show him what to do, and get that car in the fucking river. And I said, and I get to 500? Yeah. So I don't have to touch this car? Fucking game on. Let's go, Roy. So now it's cold. It's cold. I'm guessing this is in like maybe December of '73. It's freezing cold. It was raining. I just want to set the stage. Now picture this place on Vernon Boulevard. Now back then, they had a lot of taxi cab companies that used to park their cabs. They had a taxi company junkyard with junkyard parts and fenders that they would. It was a completely shithole place to go. There was no reason for anybody to walk there. It was all factories. Most of them were closed down. So it was like an eerie place. Then it had all these bushes. The gate, the one side of the gates that pushed in, I guess, one of them was down, enough room to get a car through the bushes. It was like spooky shit, like Halloween shit. It was like really. So I go, okay, $500. Let's go, Roy. Follow me. And he gets in the car. Now, Roy was always dressed in these button-down Italian dress shirts with all design. I'm guessing they were like back then $100 shirts. I think they were. You know what kind of that went over your belt line so you can carry your gun, because both Roy and Joey carried little 5-shot either Colts or Smith & Wesson revolver, like a little detective gun, like a pocket gun. They all had that gun. So now remember, they have that gun. So he's dressed in his Italian shoes, Roy, and his dress pants, and this it almost had like ruffles, like jet white.
In those days, they were Leonardo Strassi Italian knits or Damon knits. That's what they wore.
Yeah. Okay. So how much they were $100, right?
Yeah.
Because he said, "Oh, it's $100. He would go like this. Remember this saying? Hey, fucking church cost me a C note. You know what a C note is?
What's that?
It's $100.
Just $100.
A yard.
Yeah.
Or a yard.
Yeah.
You had a $5 bill was a fin. A $10 bill was a double sawbuck.
Double sawbuck.
Sawbuck. All
Kevin,
you people out there this is all culture from New York back in the days.
Kevin, I was going to add in too. So after you did all this, I mean, now when you went back there, to last year or this year, I believe it was, when you found this stuff in the ocean, you got a whole professional team to go with you, the whole diving team. And when you.
How did I do that? This is how I did. This is what happened. So it would always haunt me. It's called Queensbridge Park. So where the car I dumped the car in and where the car landed.
Did Roy go with you?
No, this is 2023, right?
Yeah, we jumped 50 years. Wait, you want me to tell you this? Let's go back to 74. He just took me half a century away. Let me finish the story. I'm telling you what this guy wore,
Right.
not because I'm trying to impress his fans over there, what a sharp dresser he was, but his fucking shirt cost me a fucking C-note. I said, why do you wear that? I understand he wanted to wear the shirt out to cover his waistband because his gun was there.
And they all wore leather jackets then.
Yeah. So anyway, we get there, right? So I parked I had a friggin', I don't know if it was yellow or purple. I had a Superbird, 69 Super B. I pull up past the driveway. I get out of the car real quick, and I go in. So he's going, where? What? Just go in. And he sees nothing but like shrubs and shit. I said, just drive through it. And he drives through it. Now I walk in right behind him. I'm parked right in the driveway of this abandoned, I think it was a company that made bricks or something. You'll see it on my video. If your viewers want to go to my channel, the FBI Informant, you'll see it. So we get back there. It's mud, and it's got puddles in it. So that means, so you see Ford product cars, like a lot of cars, like a GM car, you could rev up the car a little bit, take a broomstick, rev it up, and dump it in gear. Ford's had a safety feature that if the car was over 1,000 or 1,500, it would not go into gear. So you had to put it in gear, and then you had to push it. And so the resistance was more because this was a full-size car in the mud. So I go, okay, put all the windows down, crack all the doors. He cracks all the doors. I said, okay, put the car in gear, let it go. And just before the edge of the thing, you got to push it. You got to push the car because we don't want to get it hung up. I'm not using my car to put, because a couple of times I got hung up. I had to take another stolen car and push it and push the freaking thing in so no one would realize what we were doing over there. I wanted to keep that my secret spot. So now this guy Roy does. So Roy had that Ford. There was no doubt in my mind that there was another body in that car. There was no. Why would they pay me $500? You know. So anyway, he's pushing the car, and it's slowing down instead of speeding up. And he goes, help me push. I said, fuck you. And if you look, so my editor, if you guys can look closely, you'll see my cartoon figure. I don't know if you can see to the left, standing there while Roy pushes that car. And we even got the same car. we put it superimposed. And I don't know how these guys do that. So anyway, so I'm standing back like 2 car lengths, and I'm his coach. Push the fucking thing, push. And he's pushing it. And he's pushing it. And he's telling, help me. I'm fucking touching that car, you prick. I'm not touching that car. I'm not touching it. That's the deal. And he's getting closer to the edge, and he slips, and he falls in mud. And I'm watching this guy, and the fucking the left rear wheel almost runs over his right foot. I said, get up, push it. Now the car goes past him. He gets up with his fancy C-note fucking whatever he said, shirt it is, right? Filled with mud. You can see, because on that night it was a full moon, right? So once you got on the other side of the shrubs, it was kind of bright that night. And as the car passes him, I get up, push it. So now he's at the back of the car, just like my little cartoon thing said. Now he's at the back of the car, and he's pushing it, and it goes in. So I'm standing back. I get back up, and sure enough, the doors are open now, and the car goes just about goes right down. And I run to the fucking so he's covered in mud. He doesn't have a white shirt no more. It's mud. So I point to him. Now this is Roy DeMeo. that hates me from Jump Street, but now he knows this spot. That's why I said, you think that's the only car in there? No, 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 no. And I'm going to tell you more stories about how we'll get to 2023. Take it easy. So I start laughing at him. I go, and he was fucking. First he was mad. It was cold. It was freezing. His shoes are filled with friggin' mud. They were fuck. How do I know? Because he was taking them off. I had to drive him back in my car. So I start laughing at him. Every time I think of his face, his neck had it, and I said, "Look, look at you." So this was the time when Roy DeMeo could have killed me and just threw me in that friggin' car and dumped me in there too. I was thinking about that too because this guy really hated me at this point. So I start laughing. He looks down and he looks at himself, and he was a pretty good sport. He had a sense of. He started laughing. He goes, "You fucking," and I ran. I went back to the car. Now he's taking his shoes off, his shirt. He had one of those, what do you call them, wife beater t-shirts underneath. He took that shit off, and we took him back, and everybody was happy. Now, you want to go to 2023 now?
Oh yeah, let's go there.
Well, what happened with your relationship with DeMeo after that
Oh,
night?
I thought it was gonna be good, but of course, I told Joey what happened, and Joey was laughing his ass off the whole fucking time. He said, "You should have had a camera." I said, "You should have seen him." He was like all fucked up. So, but he was a good sport. So there were things. Listen, I'm a personable guy. I know how to talk to people. I'm a likable guy. I think I'm a likable guy. Some people may argue with me on that point, but I'm a very entertaining, likable guy. I think he really did like me. The only thing that he hated about me is because I caused Joey to slap him around, and I was walking around with that bitch story. You know, I don't even think I finished the story about the trip that we took to Elizabeth. Did I tell you when he moved the steering wheel and Chris was? Anyway, let's go to 2023.
Oh yeah. So you went there, and then
I'm going to tell you right now. These stories take a lot out of me. I'm just not telling a story. I literally, in my fucking mind, are doing like a fucking. I'm reenacting. I'm talking as I'm seeing. I could see these events. I mean, I can't tell you what I had for breakfast this morning because my memory is so fucked up. But I can remember every fucking bit of that story, every bit, and it was almost a half a century ago, 1974. So what was the next question?
2023. So you go back to this.
I did a story about Roy, and I said, I think I don't know which one I did for. I think I did the Lincoln story first, and I said, a lot of my stories are so unbelievable that sometimes when I tell them, it rings true like a lie, like bullshit, and it really bugged me. So I did one video there with another YouTube channel. I did another, and every time I would walk to the Queensbridge Park, they have a wrought iron fence, and then you have a rocky area that goes right into the. And so it would be impossible for anyone to put a car, even going back as far as 50 years ago. That gate was the same. That fence, whatever you call it, was the same. There, concrete barrier is what it is. Impossible to get a car in the river unless you crash through there. Impossible. So I could see the car. I could take a rock and I could throw a rock. And I knew it was, at this time, we thought that the information that we got from the internet is that the river was 35 feet deep. That's what we thought, but it wasn't. It's only 17 feet deep, 80 feet offshore. So I went back there and I go, and it was calling me. It was like my conscience, like, who is this guy? Whoever this guy is has the right to be buried, to be turned over to his family. Now, I'm a private investigator in California, so I already did a lot of background on this, and I do have friends in law enforcement. Retired as they may be, they still have their hooks. So I asked them, can you tell me who went missing in New York City in the year 1974. The information came back that there was one kid, he was 15 years old, and he went missing in the state of New York. He went missing in 1974 and was never recovered. So there was no connection. I'm looking for who went missing and was that person a member of organized crime? So the answer was no. So, and that in itself bothered me. I don't care who you are. If you go missing, mobster, I don't care who, there's someone, you got a daughter, a brother, an uncle, a friend, somebody's going to report you missing. They're going to do it. It's going to happen. And in this case, they did.
What about New Jersey?
Well, that wise guy. There's always a wise guy in the back. Hey, what about, well, who the fuck, what? Why would I go to New Jersey? But he's right. It was New Jersey. It was Kearney, New Jersey. One of my viewers, this guy, Thomas Steves, God bless him, reached out to me when I went, after we found it. Anyway, I don't want to get ahead of myself. So there was nobody. So that always bugged me. I knew that there was nobody reported missing in the state of New York at that time. So that always troubled me. So after we found the car, let me tell you how we found the car. So, okay. So now, exploring with a guy by the name of Jeremy. Sorry, Jeremy, I forgot your last name. But he has a YouTube channel where he and his buddy goes around the country and they search for missing people who've gone missing in cars around bodies of water. If you check out his channel, you got to check out this guy's channel, Exploring with No. You got to do it. It's the most. This is a fantastic channel. And so, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. Where was I? Anybody?
Well,
New Jersey.
Okay. All right. So,
what led you to New Jersey?
Oh, okay. So that part always bothered me. There was another YouTube channel called Adventures with Purpose. I talked to those guys. Guy with the beard. Oh, so let me back up even further than that. So this bothered me that it was so close. So what did I do? I went and I bought a $2,000 underwater drone with 165 cable, and we're gonna go with my little drone with a camera on it, and we're gonna find this thing. So I did that video. I flew back to New York with a team of YouTubers. We put the friggin' thing in the water, and it couldn't see shit. The tide was taking it. It didn't work. But it's a good thing I did that because those guys were exploring with Nug. After I called them up, they went, okay, there must be something to this story. This story sounds unbelievable. But when I spoke to the other YouTube channel, Adventures with Purpose, this guy, I think his name was Doug, he said, there's nothing that's going to be left of that car. They found cars that were in the water for 40 years in fresh water, and there was nothing left of them. So he's saying there's nothing, but I kept saying this car is a full frame car. It's got a 460 cubic inch big block motor. That's not just going to melt over 50 years. There's tires, there's rubber parts, there's glass. And I know where it was because it was right there. So it haunted me. So this guy, Jeremy, God bless his soul, he believed me. He did research. He got satellite things from 1990s, and it shows the property exactly the way I described it. It looked in the 70s. It doesn't. It's all been refurbished now. It looks completely different now. And this guy believed in me, and he got in his fucking truck with all his equipment and a boat, and he drove from Atlanta, Georgia, to New York City. And this guy just believed in me. So anyway, they have sonar, a LiDAR. They have all this equipment, and if you go on their channel, they have this sonar that goes 150 feet to the left, 150 feet to the right, and they can scan and they can look for an anomaly, a car. So this thing is so accurate. You could tell if that's a Suburban. You could tell if the windows are open. You could tell if it's a pickup truck. You could tell if it's a compact, and it has measurements, so you could tell. So we went up and down for 2 days, and there was only one anomaly that was 19 feet long. but it had no depth because that car just rusted down to nothing. But salt water doesn't rust rubber. It doesn't rust glass. It doesn't rust the tires. So I saw that the first day. It just looked like this, 19 feet long, and it didn't have any depth, or it wasn't 3D. It wasn't. So they did it. Then they got another piece of equipment, and they went around. And I'm thinking, just jump in. Just give me the thing. I can jump in. I'll do it. And the other thing is, they only had a 45-minute window to dive. It's called slack tide. That means that the river at 2:35 p.m. doesn't go in or doesn't come out. Because don't forget, the river goes in, low tide, goes out, high tide, or vice versa, or I don't know. But the tide is very treacherous in the East River. It is. So, the third day, we're not showing it. And now Jeremy has got his thinking cap on. And I got this on video. I got everything I'm saying is on video, 3 cameras. And I'm watching him, and he goes, that thing. I said, Jeremy, it's right where I said it is. It's right here. We're over it right now. We're right here. So they suited up, took him to the shore. They went in. And the other guy, then they get lost. They only had one communication device, and then they get lost. 2 divers get lost. And I'm watching the bubbles. That was my job. I'm watching the bubbles because it's dangerous. And now they have 10 minutes. They have 10 minutes to slack tide coming in, and they have like maybe 20 minutes of oxygen left because they're searching. It's. I don't know. Did you see the underwater video of this?
I seen it on YouTube. Yeah.
So it's not that you got to be like right on it with those LED lights. And sure enough, the other guy finds the car, and I found the car, and we could see the bubbles. It's right where I said it was. We could see his bubbles, right? So, that's the car. Okay, we found the car. We found the tires. He's reading the make of the tire. We see him pass. We're inside the car. Then he reaches down into the sand, half submerged, is the steering wheel. Let's talk about the steering wheel. The steering wheel was exclusive to that make of car. It was what's called a rim blow steering wheel. Every other steering wheel, this was new technology back then, you beeped your horn by pressing the center of the steering wheel. With this steering wheel rim, all you had to do is squeeze the rim. The horn would blow off. Not only did we find the steering wheel, we found the lower dashboard with the 5 pods for the instrument connect, exclusive only to that car. It's the car. And then they found a bone. Now, the whole 50 years that this has gone by, I never imagined that the smell I was smelling was from a dismembered corpse. It never dawned on me, even though it was Roy DeMeo and I knew who he was then. But I didn't think in 1973 he was just a starter guy. He was just killing people. I never dreamed. I thought the Gemini method was just exclusive to that bar where he would hang people up in the bathroom of that apartment there. That's it, and cut them up. So I never dreamed of it. So after they come up with the steering wheel and the dashboard, I didn't recognize it. I thought it was shaped differently, so I wasn't sure. But when I saw the lower dashboard, that did ring a bell. And then Jeremy gets on the. I said, Google it. Google a steering. Google a dashboard of a 1972 Lincoln Continental town car. And he did. And he goes, are you ready to get your mind blown? Now, I have this steering wheel in my hand. I was the last one to use this steering wheel 50 years ago. I drove that car into that river with that body in it 50 years ago. And he goes, do you want to get your mind blown? And he takes his phone out and he puts it in my face. I got the steering wheel in my other hand, and they're identical. Rim-blown steering wheel, and then the other part, the lower part of the dashboard on that car was a huge car. It was a big It was confirmed. It was the car. It was the car.
But no body.
No. Now, they found the other diver found the car, and he had to go. He was running out of air. The other guy, Jeremy, he found a bone that was cut, and it's in the video. You saw the bone, right?
Yeah, I seen it.
Okay. So that bone turned out not to be human. After I had the fight with NYPD. Now, don't forget, everybody here. Accessory after the fact of a homicide is the same charge as if you killed somebody. It's the same charge, and I know this. There is no statute of limitations, and by me admitting that I drove that car in there, I exposed myself to a homicide charge.
Yeah, but you didn't know there was a body in the car.
Well, that's where I started thinking. Being a confidential informant for 30 years, working with ADAs, working with U.S. attorneys, I know the type of cases that they want to take into court, and this would not be one of them. And the Queens DA is a gal, I forget her name. She's married to Curtis Fleetwood of the Guardian Angels. I think she's a Republican. She's pretty fair. She's pretty fair. So after I blew off the NYPD, I wanted to punch the guy in the face. I was like this. I was like, as soon as he pulled up, he had that dirty look. He gave me a fucking dirty look. Get out of the car, and he started with me right away. And I'm thinking, okay, New York, I can punch this fuck in the face right now, and there's no bail. I'll get out and just go to fucking back to California and fucking let him extradite me. I don't give a fuck. I was almost ready to pop him, but I just turned around and walked away. And all of that's on video. So when that didn't work, dealing with him, I called the Queens District Attorney's Office Cold Case Squad, and I got them involved. And then so now by this time, Jeremy has the steering wheel, Jeremy has the dashboard, and Jeremy has that bone. So I had Jeremy, I sent a picture of the bone because I had it on the video to the detective in the Queens District Attorney's Squad, Cold Case Squad. And he said, send me a picture. He says, you send me a picture. That's a bone. We're gonna get. They opened the case. They have an open case on this right now. But so does the FBI. The FBI has a missing persons case on this guy as well. So we send the picture. He sends the detective sends the picture to the medical examiner's office in Manhattan, and it takes them a couple of days. And the doctor said, we even got the doctor's name. The doctor says, you know what? I don't think it's human, but I can't be sure. I need that bone. So Jeremy UPS's the bone to the medical examiner's office on First Avenue and 30-something Street. Boom. The doctor gets it. They have it for like 3 weeks. We're not hearing anything. And finally they go, no, it's non-human. I'm not sure I trust these people. But anyway, said it was non-human. So after we find all of this stuff, there was 3 dive teams, actually. One from New Jersey, one from South Carolina, and Jeremy from Atlanta, Georgia. Everybody got involved with this because they saw my little submarine. Can you 2 guys believe this story? If I were to tell you this story and there wasn't any video, does this sound like a bullshit story or what? Or what?
Yeah,
you can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up. This shit you can't do. And then that's why I'm watching YouTube. I can listen to Sal talk all fucking day long. Maybe because he talks like me. I don't know. But I can listen to him all day long. And he comes across as being truthful. And then, I have my share of trolls out there. Oh, he's full of shit. He's full of, no matter what I do, if I could have the steering wheel, I have everything on. These trolls darkness underneath, color, whatever the fuck your name is, you bitch. We'll always try to, that's bullshit. There's trolls out there that really bug me. They really fucking bug me. What does Jesus Christ have to come through the sky and say it's real? So, but once I started hearing you guys talking about Roy DeMeo, I go, I got to contact you guys. You can't not have me on that. You can't not make me part of this now, because we have 2 perspectives of what Roy was truly like, and I want to talk to Sal more about that. The Roy as a beginner. Let's call Roy an adolescent, even though he was 34 years old at the time, an adolescent murderer. a beginner, a beginner. Every murderer, And then I'll tell you something. That thing about this guy, Roy DeMeo. He not only did hits, legitimate hits for the mafia, but he was a true serial killer. This guy truly would kill people for sport. He would just kill people. He would say, like a guy would come in, a Puerto Rican or a black guy would come in and Gemini's round, not realizing what they were doing. They get him drunk. They close the door at 4 o'clock, and they would chop him up for practice. Can you imagine these guys taking their clothes off in their underwear with butcher? And he's anyway. So I want to compare my notes, my year working and knowing Roy DeMeo from 73 to 74, and you met him in 77. By that time, he was full blown. This guy, and the other thing about Roy DeMeo that I find fascinating, knowing all about confidential informants and how they infiltrate the drug cartels, the mafia, there's different types of informants. How this guy was able, with this so-called crew, 5 people, 6 people that knew what he was doing for 10 years, from 73 till 83, January 83 until he got clipped. How the fuck did nobody snitch on this guy? Sal, what's your thoughts on that? How did he get away with it? Roy DeMeo, even though there's an FBI mugshot, he didn't get arrested when he went to the FBI office in Newark. They just, I don't know, somehow conned him and sitting there and taking his picture. They took his picture. But he never got arrested. He never got arrested.
I think the answer to this is if we could get Tester or Center to come on the show and tell us more about who Roy was, the Roy that they knew, because you knew an early Roy, and I knew a Roy that I thought was just in the car business.
70s. Well, he was big into cars.
Yeah.
And another thing, not to blow my own horn, but if I don't, who will? He didn't know how to do a fucking tear job, right? And then I wind up stealing a car that winds up being Nino Gadget's car on Cropsey Avenue in Brooklyn. And I just realized it when I did a video, and I said, yeah, he took me over here because we had to pull some cars back because he had bad tag jobs out there in Brooklyn, and he sold a car to this guy Nino Gadget, and now he wants to pull it back because he's afraid he put the wrong rivets in the fucking car. He put pop rivets instead of the Rosetta rivets. He didn't know what he was doing. And that's why he hated me even more than that. I showed him up at the shop. I walked in one day. They got the windshield out, and they're doing a tag job. And 15 feet away, I could see silver pop rivets. If I was a traffic cop, and I went, hey, what's silver pop rivets? You're going. So he got scared, and we had to pull 12 cars back. And I stole a car. I stole Nino Gadget's Lincoln right out of his driveway at 11 o'clock at night and got caught. They all came out. And of course, I'm telling the story not knowing where I was. But in the book Murder Machine, you'll see it says Nino Gadget has his address. And as I'm describing what the house looked like, 2-family house. Well, you had to go up the stairs, and you got on the first level. There's a bay window. It's in brick. It's got a little one-car garage that you go down. It's on the right. I described it in my video. And then all my viewers going, oh, shit, that's Cropsey Avenue. That's Nino Gadget's car. That's unbelievable. He chased me with a fucking baseball bat up Cropsey Avenue in his underwear.
Jeez. Well,
you can't make this shit up.
Oh, isn't that?
Things about myself and Roy DeMeo 50 years later. Thank you.
Well, Kevin,
we got to open this thing up to questions.
Yeah, we'll get to a few of them. I suppose we're already
We've been on an hour and a half already.
Yeah.
Do I talk too much? Sal, be honest.
That's all right.
Sal, I don't know about this guy over here, but Sal, do I talk too much or what?
No, it's a lot of information, and people want to hear.
Lot.
They want to hear the information.
And then sometimes, I want to apologize to you guys before. A lot of my stories, I'll start telling a story. And even as a kid, I had ADD, and that shit never goes away. As I'm telling one story, it'll take me to another story. And the next thing I know, I'm veering off to the right, and I'm into that story. Then I forgot what friggin' story.
Right.
You have that problem, Sal?
No. I've learned to revisualize the story I'm telling and try to stay on the point. But you got a lot of information, and you're very detailed about it.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I think it's important to put details in stories, especially when they're unbelievable.
But
Like,
what we didn't talk about yet was the guy who disappeared from New Jersey. It looks like it could be another show, you know. But you know,
the story. Listen, stay you in the corner. Stop laughing at me. The fucking story. It's just mind blowing. Yeah, we found out who it was, and now me and this murder victim, who was the highest earner in the Genovese crime family for fucking Vincent the Chin Gigante, who was making $2 million a month, 1974 money, 104 million a year. That equates to over $600 million in 2023 money.
well, we got a lot of people with questions here.
Oh, where are they? Can I read them?
Yeah.
Can you get my glasses, baby?
Let Adrian ask the questions, or revisit the
Okay,
questions.
I don't need the glasses, Kaylee. My beautiful assistant. I got my beautiful assistant, 14-year-old daughter, the love of my life. And you people must be going, wait a minute. How can he have a 14-year-old daughter if he's 60 years old? I started late. I don't know. Boom.
Yeah, I'm just going through all the ones that are just, statements and saying good morning and stuff right now is what I've been clicking on. So, if anybody got a few questions you want to go on to, I know we're at that, already.
Most of the final results of a murdered victim lie with the family, some with law enforcement. But what everybody's looking for is closure. And even you looking for a little closure because you want to tell the truth.
Yeah, well, let me tell you. So it's just the way things happen. This happened July 18th when we found this when everything hit the fan. So, and it was that the dive team, the two dive teams, Jeremy and his other sidekick there, had to go. They had to go to Pennsylvania. They had to go to another thing. So we found it, and now the way things happen is that they weren't available until just recently, and now all the dive boats and all those are taken out of the water for winter now. So now Jeremy is coming back on in April, and we're going to do another thorough job. And Jeremy, if you're listening, I know I didn't get the chance to talk to you about the second car, the black Ford that I did the video on. In fact, after I get done with this, Jeremy, I'm going to send you the what do you call it, thumbnail. So there may be another one in there, and this is the one that Roy DeMeo actually pushed in that I have nothing to do with. I just did the blinking. I didn't touch that car.
Yeah, once you showed him that spot, he probably took advantage of it.
Well, what do you think?
Of course.
He you know what he kept saying? It's got a fucking curtain. I said, what are you doing?
Hey,
They closed. You got a curtain. It's
Kevin,
just a place. So, dude, if you all you got to do, you want to whack somebody, you whack them in the car, you drop the gun in the car, and then you take the fucking car and you put it in the river. You get rid of
don't forget the cannolis. Don't forget the cannolis.
Hey, Kevin here. We got a question. They said, did Kevin deal with the Westies? Were they tough? What about Jimmy?
Jimmy Coonan and Mickey Featherstone.
Okay, the only ones that I knew was a guy and I don't even know if he was in the Westies. There was a guy by the name of Joseph Mad Dog Sullivan.
I knew him.
Okay, dude. So
and his brother Jerry. I knew both of them.
Okay, so I was involved with him with a triple homicide in Fair Lawn, New Jersey. It was the biggest story of my life back then, where I was actually assigned by the Manhattan DA's office squad to do one of the most dangerous things imaginable, which is romancing a jailed mafia hitman's wife. It made first serial in the March edition of Penthouse magazine, where it says deadly mission, seduce a his wife. And he was involved with that. It involved the slaughter of two women and the decapitation of a 5-year-old little boy. But Joseph Mad Dog Sullivan didn't do it because when he got to the scene, the house, he saw a little, what do you call Hot Wheels or what the kids use.
No,
And
Mike. Yeah.
one of the little bicycles outside in the lawn. And he went back to this guy, Brian Malise, and said, hey, is there a kid in that fucking house? Yeah, we could whack him too. He goes, I don't know. One thing about, if you knew Mad Dog, he had a lot of principles, the guy, and he didn't take that case. And we could talk about him in another podcast. I'd rather do a podcast with you than work on my own channel because all my viewers are too damn cheap and stingy to push the fucking. You would think I have 1 million freaking subscribers. I only got 4,500. All my viewers push the button. What are you fucking cheap?
Here, hey Kevin, we got another one here. It says this one's from Slim. He said it had to be difficult to deal with Roy. Seemed like an insecure man who wanted to desperately be respected. I hear many didn't respect him. ? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't know about anybody else not respecting him, but how can listen to me. When I went into prison, I was 17 years old. And as you can tell now, I'm a very good-looking guy for 70 years old. I was a fucking good-looking, blonde-haired, blue-eyed. So already going in there, if I didn't know, I had a lot of black friends that I went into the zoo. It was a place called the Adolescent Remand Shelter on Rikers Island, 1313 Hazen Street, East Elmhurst, New York, 11370. I'll never forget that place as long as I live. So, what was the question again? What?
They just asked if they if you didn't see other guys respecting him or meaning, was he
Let's
respected?
talk about respect in the criminal world, period. Never even mind the mafia. If I would have went in jail and the first fucker that came up to me and fucking popped some bullshit at me, I fought the shit out of him and I got respect. Because now the rest of them would think, oh, he's going to fight. He fought that guy. He's going to fight me and take his manhood or take his parfaits or whatever. It wasn't going to happen. And the first seconds that I encountered Roy DeMeo, he acted like a true bitch. He ran away. And I didn't know that Joe, looking back now, in retrospect, he couldn't put his hands on. Right or wrong, Sal, you know more about the mafia than I.
No, you weren't. Nobody would expect you to hit a made man. I had a lot of sit down with made guys, and it was always resolved, and that, you revolved in this world by respect. That's what you did. You had to have respect.
So I did not respect Roy. I didn't know Joey was a made man. And the only other, and again, they were both about the same size, both about the same age. Why didn't he fight him? Why? I never saw anything. And I'm fresh out of prison, so I looked at Roy as a bitch. He was not. I didn't respect him, and I mouthed off to him. And Joey pulled me to the side. He said, listen, don't F with that guy. I said, you know what, Joey? I'll take him like in prison. I'll take you to the back right now. I'll take him to the back right now. He goes, no. Don't. He's dangerous. Don't F with him. That's all he told me. And then every time we would have you know what I'll tell you about Roy DeMeo. You want to know about Roy DeMeo? He would constantly try to provoke me by talking about me in front of me. Like there'd be a third party there. He'd be talking shit about me in front of me. Like, what's up with that? And I go, hey, yo, bro, I heard that. I almost had a fight with him in one of the trailers that we were emptying. But, I have no respect for him. He's a piece of crap. He murdered my friend. He's just a piece of shit. And I'm going to tell you something else. I was very close to Joey Bikini. I respected him, looked up to him, and I wanted to be like him. And he killed my friend. So I am a victim of Roy DeMeo. Roy DeMeo left thousands of people. If he really did kill 200 people, if you take 200 people, their friends, their family members, you're talking about thousands of people he impacted their lives for nothing. Why did he kill Joey? Because Joey gave him another black guy? Because he opened his big. Anytime Joey was, and let me tell you something else about Joey Bikini. Joey Bikini was the most soft-spoken. You would never think of a mob boss like seeing The Godfather in 1972. Seeing that, you would never think that Joey was who he was. He never told. I didn't know who he was. So, I consider myself a victim of Roy DeMeo, and there was nothing I mean, he could be, when he wanted to, he could be. That's why I wanted to see what you thought about him in 1977, from 73, because a lot of things happened between 73 and 77 with Roy DeMeo that now I found out 50 years later through the internet.
I really think, I don't know what happened. I read what happened at the Gemini. And when I met this guy, I mean, I did meet guys that were murderers, and they were really, sort of like they could fit in anywhere. Okay. They were the type of people like actors. They would act very, cautious and calm and respectful and have a smile on their face. Yet the guy like Cataldo, I knew, would kill you in a minute.
Yeah.
So I think he worked into being a vicious killer. And then he had those two guys with him, Center and Testa, which were younger. I think they're much younger than DeMeo was, right?
No. I think they're born in 52 or 50. I'm born in 54. You're born in what, 45?
I thought they were born in 55.
Well, then I'm older than them. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. They were like at least 10 years younger than DeMeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Well,
he led them into very sophisticated murder.
yeah.
Would you call it sophisticated? I mean, what he would do when he was killing there's two killings here. The sport killings were the killings in the bar, where we take them to the apartment that was adjacent to the bar, and they would just cut people up. Like if you were a Puerto Rican or a black guy, and you'd stay till last call, they practice killing to keep your and they ordered pizza. They would order fucking pizza while they chopping people up.
Hey, Kevin, I got another one. It says, Big Paul thought Roy would flip under pressure. I think he would have too. Thoughts? What's that name, Sal? Polisi?
I think he wanted to write Polisi.
Oh,
was
Polisi
Burke the good handyman? Jimmy Burke showed you sides of him that he wanted you to see. I saw a nice guy. I saw a smart guy. I saw the most clever hijacker, stolen merchandise, marketer. He can market stolen merchandise. But I didn't see a violent Jimmy Burke. I did not see a violent Jimmy Burke.
No.
And I was in the street with him, and I was in prison with him. So I couldn't tell you that he was the murderer, because he didn't talk about murder when I was around him. He was only interested in money. Jimmy Burke was interested in making money.
Well, that's what drives most of those guys is the money. But this guy Roy DeMeo, when I say that he also murdered for sport, there was no money to be made. And I'm just thinking, think of a 180-pound guy, right? Taking a 180-pound body, dead weight, and then start to, where do you start? The arms, the shoulder, and have a little party, have all the boys there, and laughing and drinking. And I don't think Roy he drank at all. I never saw him drinking.
But he did sniff cocaine.
He did? I never saw him do that either.
It was known. Yeah, it was known.
Never
Not through me, but the rumor was he did sniff cocaine and they were high.
But they had a part. I know it was party time. They enjoyed it. They loved it. And they would package it up and take it to Fountain Avenue.
But you got to remember, towards the end of his life, when the order came down to whack him, the Gottis refused to whack him.
Because John Gotti said, I would have to whack all of them. I can't whack him and let all the other guys, the rest of his crew. And he goes, I'm taking it down. So I believe it was sent the twins that were there. And that was it, Broglio?
Casso got involved.
Yeah.
Casso.
They whacked him in the garage.
Podcast.
Yeah, Gas Pipe got involved. He promised the two young guys they were going to come over with him. And the two young guys betrayed DeMeo and killed him.
Hey,
Well, he knew he was going to die. He left it. He knew, instead of I think he was worth $1 million in cash at that time. Instead of just taking the money and taking his family and just getting the fuck out of Dodge, he stayed full well knowing he was at the end of his life, that they were going to kill him. He tried to get a solution with a Catholic priest. Can't do that.
Hey, Kev, I'm gonna throw in this ad real quick, and then we'll wrap up since we're getting pretty deep. Here, let me play it real quick.
We'll
If you would
spend
like to
all day
support
on
our
this.
podcast, we got a few items that you can purchase. All of these items can be found in the video description below. The first one is Sal's book, The Sinatra Club. You can get this personally autographed by Sal. The next one in our hottest seller is the 1972 Sinatra Club playing cards. Back in Sal's Mafia days, he opened up his own social club named the Sinatra Club. Many mobsters would come to this club, even when there were all-out wars going on between different families. They would come to the Sinatra Club and play cards. Some of the mobsters that played with these cards were John Gotti, Dominic Cataldo, Tommy DeSimone, Foxy, Jimmy Burke, Willie Boy Johnson, Tony Roach, Henry Hill, Joe DeFede, Danny Fatico, Gene Gotti, Peter Gotti, Joey Scopo, and many more. We're selling each one of these cards for $10 a piece. These cards are limited, we only got 1,000 of them. The next item is an autographed picture of Sal from his Mafia days. Another item is the Dinner with the Mobster card. You can get this autographed as well. This was an event that Sal had hosted in the past. We also got the Ubots production ticket from an event that Sal had hosted. This is also autographed. The last item we got to offer is Sal's book, The Sins of the Father. Again, you can find all these items in the video description below.
Cool.
Well, Kevin, we
Sign
appreciate
me
it.
up. Sign me up. I want the cards.
Yeah, we can get you some, man.
We'll send you a couple. I'll get Adrian to send you a couple.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate
So
you
next
coming on,
time
Kevin.
you come on, you got to tell us about the guy that was discovered that was missing. Next time, that's a whole other story.
Yeah, let's keep that. Cliffhanger.
All right, well, I'll just end it there. Thank you guys, and thank you for everyone tuning in and watching the live. So I'll just
Great
end it there.
information. I'm sure people are going to be fascinated with it.
Come to my YouTube channel, and don't come to my YouTube channel if you're not gonna press the button, because I know who you are. You cheat. It's nothing. The FBI informant Kevin Maher. Check it out. And yada yada yada. It was great being there, Sal. You were a pleasure to speak to. I can listen to you all day, Sal. I can listen
All right,
to you all
we
day.
got more stories. We'll
Okay,
talk
cool.
soon.
Bye,
All right.
everybody.
Thanks, Kevin.